I was leading a college small group just in my local church, and about half of the girls that I was discipling just started confessing like sexual sin that they were struggling with. Seminary did not prepare me necessarily to deal with some of these things, and so I just started seeking out counselors. I started seeking out books and just resources, and finding a lot for men, but not finding a whole lot for women.
In terms of discipleship, the sexual stuff is going to be one of the primary barriers to people becoming good at discipling and becoming good disciples, because we've told them culturally that the meaning of life is to satisfy yourself, and that sex is open season to do anything you want that might give you joy.
So what I want you to do is unpack for us your view of purity culture as it affects women as disciples.
And then there became this guilt that has been added. And I've had so many friends that upon getting married, sex then became hard because it wasn't a light switch where all of a sudden their brain was like, yes, now it's okay. And they thought about sex as dirty. They felt dirty having sex, even though they were married. It affected their sexual performance and increased sexual dysfunction, which is what some of the research is showing. And so that's just one small example from purity culture and how. So the book has 3 parts. The first part is basically, how are we broken? Like, what are contributing factors to our brokenness? The fact that I am a sinner, that I am weak and wicked, according to Romans, if any other book, Romans, I'm weak and wicked. I'm inclined to sin. I have a proclivity to sin. Part of the book. Second part of the book is, how do we know sexual sin is sin? And so I look at 6 principles of God's design for sex. And those 6 characteristics give us a grid for how to think about sexual ethics. And then the third part of the book is, I struggle with sexual sin. What do I do? Where do I start? How do I even begin to deal with this?
Sure.
So if we think about sin, and if we think about a sin struggle is really a worship struggle. So what is it that I'm worshiping, and what is it that I'm pursuing or seeking? And so on that level, men and women, you've just got to identify, what is it that you're seeking or wanting out of this? What is it you're loving the most, fearing the most, desiring the most? And so on that level, men and women would be the same.
One of the things that at least in your book is pretty prominent is that one of the aspects of sexual brokenness is the trauma that many people experience in life, especially ladies in particular, having traumatic experiences when they're young. How does that affect this whole area of sexual brokenness?
Right now, what is your image of God? And her image was one of condemnation. Her image of one was somebody that was going to be doing this because you haven't spent time with me. You haven't done this. You haven't done this. You've done this wrong. Somebody that's got the laundry list that they're reading to you, rehearsing everything that you've done. And with that being her view of God, why would you want to live for somebody who acts like that towards you? And I think about what Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 10:13, where he says, no temptation has come upon you except what is common to humanity. And so the temptation itself is common. Now, how that temptation arrives and the form that it takes, but I mean, you and I might be tempted to do different things, but at the root of that temptation, if it's security we're both seeking, but just in different avenues, or if it's affirmation, or if it's satisfaction or significance, no temptation has overtaken you or me that is not common to humanity. All you need to know is that I grew up doing 4-H poultry judging, and I can tell you how many eggs a chicken's laid if I look at it.
Ashley, your book primarily is hope for women who've been traumatized and abused, primarily. Is that fair?
Actually, I would say no.
Good. I love it, Ashley. Good response.
It's fine. My ego's fine. Don't worry about my ego. It's fine. It's fine.
It's okay.
I'm gonna get a Kleenex. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, sorry. No. So I have 2 chapters on trauma and abuse. But the bulk of it is just about sexual sin and sexuality in general.
What do you want, Ashley?
Simply, I want you to be a healthy and holy follower of Jesus. And I want you to know how to have compassion and to be a good listener to the people in your life that you are also called to help to be healthy and holy followers of Jesus.
Ashley, thanks for being with us on the Disciple Dilemma. Folks, this is a terrific book. You've got to read this book. This thing is a wake-up call for believers in the church. It's not just you. You can check out her website. It's notjustyobook.com. It's available from B&H Publishers. And last time I checked, just about everywhere you want to look on the independent bookstore seller side, the big retailers, and even the big bad A guys, the book's out there. So it's not just you, a terrific read.
I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me with thy powerful hand.